10th of October, every year is a day set aside by the World Health Organization, of course, in recognition and in line with the mental health. This is a day that will put everyone on a know the importance of your mental health. This is a day to create a proper awareness to the whole world, and this is done every October, the 10th day in the month of October. Today on the issues, we will be having a robust conversation. Talk about the World Mental Health Day that occurred some hours back, precisely the 10th of October 2023, a day that you should be aware of, a day that I should be aware of, a day that every concerned Nigerian who takes his or her health seriously should be aware of. This will be a conversation today on the issues, and of course you already know my name is Opeyemi Adebambo, and my guest with us in the studio today happens to be a medical health practitioner in person of Dr. Banji Adesoji. He's no stranger to the house, I must tell you, and of course he will be doing justice to the conversation today while we talk about the World Mental Health Day. Now you can be a part of this conversation from wherever. All you need to do is log on to our website www.ikd1061fm.ng. We are also very much available on Facebook, that is IKD1061FM, IKD1061FM, where you can watch us live and how we're doing it here in the studio. You can send in your questions, comments on Facebook as well, and on WhatsApp 0904-082-1061. That is 0904-082-1061. The studio lines will also be made available where you can call in and be a part of this conversation. 0904-081-1061. Today to start this conversation talking about the World Mental Health Day, Dr. Banji Adesoji from General Hospital Ikorodu would help us understand the importance of the mental health, and of course he would also help us to understand the importance of this day that has been set aside, the 10th of October, every year as the World Mental Health Day. Good morning to you, Dr. Banji.
Good morning, Mr. Adebambo. Nice to be here again.
It's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
You're looking young as always.
Yeah.
Please try to grow older.
I can't, no.
Leave the street for us.
No. I left the streets ages ago. I'm not on the streets.
Okay. But I must say you look good.
Thank you very much.
So today we talk about the Mental Health Day, the World Mental Health Day. A day that has been set aside for everyone to understand the importance of the mental health. Now, before we even start talking about what the mental health in itself is, we had a similar conversation such as this before, but let us look at this day, the 10th of October. You know, it still matters at this time as we talk.
Yeah.
What exactly is the essence of this campaign? What exactly is the essence of the awareness, the theme for the year? Because every year we have different theme, and then we have different stories to every of those themes. So tell us, this year's World Mental Health Day, what exactly is the essence of the awareness?
All right, thank you very much for having us again. From all of us at General Hospital Ikorodu, we appreciate IKT 106.1 for this platform. So every 10th of October, the WHO, that is the World Health Organization, set a day apart for us to talk about mental health. It's not just the Gen Z thing, it's a thing for every generation, because we know that there is no health without mental health. And that we've come to understand that, look, there's just certain things that if we do not bring up, people will never talk about, because people are afraid of discussing these things. They feel the stigma associated with them. So this year's theme is that access to mental health services is a universal human right.
Okay.
That the same way that we must have access to food, to water, to shelter is a fundamental human right. Access to mental health services must also become a fundamental human right, because gone are the days when people would say, okay, I'm going to talk to my therapist. It's only something you see in a Hollywood movie. But that rather that everyone needs to assess their mental health every day. And you need to ensure that if we could prevent fewer cases, because of course you know that Nigerian doctors are jackpying every day, so we would reduce the burden of care in the healthcare system, and of course make better lives for everybody involved. Because mental health issues affect all of us, and when one member of the family has a mental illness, it affects the whole family. In fact, the way we say it is, when you're treating one person, you're treating the family. So there's no point trying to hide any information. Yeah.
So let's get it clear now, Dr. Banji, with your clear definition of this year's World Mental Health Day. Then tell us, the word itself, mental health,
Yeah.
how best can it be described or defined?
Okay, so I like to make things as simple as possible. So we're in secondary school yesterday, and I think it was a JS1 student was asking me, what is mental health? And is mental health that man walking on the streets that is naked? And I said, you know what? Mental health basically is your state of well-being. It's emotional, it's psychological, it's social, and it's an assessment of that well-being, and it's about your ability to deal with the stresses of life, be able to live productively, to be able to contribute to your community, and to live well. So those are 4 areas that we say this is what you measure your mental health by. Are you able to manage stress? Lagos is stressful. All of us are under stress. I've been awake since 5 a.m. this morning. So this is 11, so I've been awake since 6 working. And my brain is basically telling me, oh God, we need food, we need food, we need food. So so stress management, productivity, self-actualization, which is that, are you doing something you enjoy doing? Is this what you think you were designed to do? Or you're doing it because your hustle must pay? That kind of thing. And then, are you contributing to community? Because at every point in time, you must be playing a role in every society. We have a problem with our society because we have too many people who want to leech and take and are not willing to contribute. So those are the 4 things you assess your mental health. Can you address stress? Are you productive? Can you live well? Are you self-actualizing? And are you contributing? If any of those areas are affected, your mental health has become imbalanced and you need to do something.
This can be said to be some of the causes why we have the mental health illness.
Yeah.
And you know, when we have the mental health illness, it is not right anymore.
Yeah.
Something is wrong there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of these causes, you know, because today I would like for our listeners to participate and then call in to ask you some questions, if at all they have any.
Yeah.
When we talk about the mental health illness, what are the causes, some of the causes that we know that these are our day-to-day activities causes some of these things? As a doctor and a renounced one at that, tell us some of the causes why we have the mental health illness.
Okay, so let me give you a short story. I'm just coming from a teaching hospital in Lagos.
Okay.
Somebody just lost her dad, and she's been told she has to write an exam, and the exam is not going to be deferred. So what that basically means is that is life happening to someone. She's grieving. She's supposed to be alone or with family, grieving the loss of her dad, and the same teaching hospital where her dad died is telling her, we can't defer your exam. You must write that exam, or just fail it and then come and do the receipt in 6 months. Now that is a clear-cut case of life happening to a person. So we're saying that there are biological reasons why mental illnesses occur. We know that certain illnesses run in families. So for instance, depression runs in families, anxiety runs in families, even alcoholism runs in family. We know that if a man has 3 or 4 children, at least, and he's an alcoholic, one of those children would become an alcoholic the rest of their life. So we know it runs in families. Then the second causes, of course, is the psychological, or shall we say the emotional causes. Life events, somebody loses someone, life just happens to you, you're an orphan, you don't have anyone to care for you. Poverty is a major stress factor. And then, of course, is also that the social things. Here's the thing. If you live in the village where you have access to good water and have access to open field to sit and walk around, truth be told, your mental health is going to be better than the person that lives in the city. So here's what they found. They found that quite a number of people who live in Japan live very long lives. Some of them live to 100, 95. And what was the secret? Was that they walked outside in the open every day. They drank clean water, they ate fresh food, and they lived with family and were happy with their situation. But we say hustle must pay, and we are basically burning the candle at both ends. We don't sleep. We wake up at 5 to get back home at 11. I mean, those are the things that contribute. So that's why we say when you live in an environment that is not mentally helpful, it contributes to mental illnesses. Then, of course, you have the substance issues, of course, which is a pandemic all over Lagos and also especially in Ikorodu. Someone was telling me about something they call adimenu. I'm still trying to do my research on what it is, and that 3 or 4 students did adimenu and you're not supposed to swallow it, and one of them died because one of them chose to swallow. So it's causing, and we know that cannabis from Colos to Arizona to Loud have been involved and implicated in the development of anxiety to depression and also schizophrenia, which is the one you see on the streets that is walking around naked. So we're saying that biological, emotional, and social factors contribute to the illness. But this much is true. Not one factor determines the occurrence of a mental illness. So, for instance, four children in the family, three of them are fine, and one of them has depression because the mother had depression. The question is, how come all four did not? So, what just happened was three of them were happily married, lived good lives, were really not very stressed. One person had a divorce, had issues with her marriage, had issues with her children, is working a job that she's very stressed at. So, what it means is she was already predisposed because her mother was depressed. But now you now have these factors that have triggered the illness. So if she had lived a life where she was like her other siblings, she might never have developed the illness. So that's why we're saying that all these factors contribute most times in the development.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Banji. Now let's go back to depression. You know, I'm very much interested in that part of depression. How hereditary is depression? You know, you just said it. If I'm not mistaken, that it could be something that was inherited from one's parent. Now, can you make it more clearer?
Yeah.
How hereditary is depression? Because I want to believe that depression is something that has to do with an individual. You know, so how hereditary can depression be?
Depression occurs 2 times more in women than in men. So it means that there are going to be like 60% of women having depression than you have like 30% in men. So what we're saying is that depression occurs more commonly in women than in men. Then of course we know that it occurs in families and is passed down from generation to generation. But like I was saying before, that there are certain things that must occur for the depression to be expressed. So the same way we all have malaria parasites in our bloodstreams right now. But if stress does not break down your immunity, you're not going to have to take antimalarials. Because the malaria parasite is there, but your immunity is strong enough to deal with it. So the same way with depression, it is passed down from families. So for instance, I know a family that had both father and mother in their families had depression on both sides. But the father did not have, the mother did. And then 3 out of 4 of the children developed depression at some point in time, at different times in life. So we're saying that because both families were coming and had the illness, the traits of the illness, now that increases the likelihood of the children developing depression. But of course, caveat, because people now say, oh, if that means that when they say you should go and investigate the family, is there a mental illness in the family, that's a reason not to marry. So the caveat is every family in Lagos, Nigeria right now has at least one person with a mental illness in their family. So they should pause.
No, that's serious. I want you to help us understand depression. Welcome to Nigeria, Africa now, where some people are already living with depression and they don't even see it as depression. That is how bad it has gone. Some will tell you that this is just me. I don't just want to relate with you. I'm just cool this way. Meanwhile, it could be depression. So what exactly do we call depression? How do we say that, okay, this person is depressed? This thing I am seeing is a depressed a symptom or a depressed sign from this particular person.
Okay, so there are 3 major symptoms of depression. They must occur for 2 weeks before we can make a diagnosis of depression. And the first one is undue sadness. The emphasis is on undue. What it means is, if you lose 10 million naira and you are not sad, I will personally treat you. You should be sad, right? So, but if a person loses 1,000 naira and then starts to cry for weeks, that's undue sadness. You are sad, but it's unduly and it's sustained. So sadness, so people conflate depression and sadness. They're not the same thing. You're sad because of an event. Something happens, your team loses, like Manchester United until recently. No shit.
I was expecting to hear Chelsea.
No shit. Oh, sorry. They won 4-1. So life is good on that side. So something happens, an event, you get sad, but you would recover from it in a few hours. But you find yourself being sad for 2 weeks, and it's like that. You wake up in the morning and you're sad. That's the first major symptom. The second one is weakness. You just find yourself losing energy. So we call it reduced energy levels. So people wake up normally feeling refreshed after sleeping. You wake up and you're energetic, you're waking up and you're like, fine. Or you wake up and you feel like going back to sleep again. Or wake up and you're like, I'm tired, I don't want to get out of my bed. That is another major symptom. And then the third one, which is the one that would occur more often, but people will not think of it as depression, is you lose interest. So, for instance, you're the kind of person who likes to party, club, and all of a sudden, 2 weeks in a row, you don't go anywhere. You're the kind of person that has a lot of friends, you like to talk to your friends, and you just like to withdraw and be by yourself. You're the kind of person who loves to watch football or likes to play football, but suddenly you've not played it and you just don't feel, I'm not missing anything. So those are the three majors. Then the others, minor ones, are not sleeping well, not concentrating, not being able to remember things, being forgetful. That's one of the symptoms. Then the other one is poor appetite, losing weight. You just don't feel hungry all the time. Then the major ones that are still minor is you look at your future and you just feel there's no hope, there's no point.
Why am I leaving?
Why? What was the point? I mean, there's no. I don't see a future. So that's hopelessness. Then it now can progress to worthlessness, where you now feel, okay, no, it progresses to helplessness. First, I don't see a future. Helplessness, I can't solve this problem. I can't make it better. And then the third is now, what's the point in living? Which is now what leads to suicide, where the thoughts now come that, look, maybe I should just end it and move on. So those are the symptoms of depression, and certain people will have two of the major that I first talked about. Some people will have just one, and then so because we also have grades in depression. There's mild depression, there's moderate, and there's severe.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Banji. I told you the phone lines will be made available today for you to call in and then ask questions in line with our conversation today, the World Mental Health Day that is, of course, observed every 10th of October. With us in the studio is Dr. Banji Adesoji, a mental health practitioner from General Hospital, Ikorodu. Doctor, before we talk about how we can prevent some of these mental health illnesses and issues, I would like for us to have a clearer understanding. The reason for this World Mental Health Day is to create awareness to the general public, a proper campaign, of which this is what we are doing too as well. Now, let's look at, for instance, sexual transmitted diseases, STDs. You know, underneath that we could have staphylococcus, gonorrhea, etc. You know, there are a lot, numerous sexual transmitted diseases, but the compound name is called STDs. Now, let's look at the mental health illness. Do we have some sort of sicknesses underneath it, or is just a one name mental health illness?
All right.
Can we look at some of the types of diseases, sicknesses rather, underneath?
Thank you very much. So, the commonest reason why people come to see me for mental illness issues are poor sleep.
Poor sleep.
Yes, so we call it chronic insomnia, which is that you've not been able to sleep for upwards of 1 month. Because by the time it's 1 week, most people would not come. But when it's been more than 2 weeks, more than 3 weeks, then people will be like, oh, there's something going on here. And you've tried other things. So chronic insomnia is definitely one of the mental illnesses. Then we call it anxiety, which is the commonest. Then we've talked about depression. Then we have what we call bipolar disorder. So bipolar disorder is that the person swings. One time they're very, very sad, very, very withdrawn, don't want to talk to anybody. Then they swing to the opposite side. They become very energetic, can't sleep, have thoughts, 1,000 thoughts per minute. And they suddenly have a lot of energy, so they don't feel that there's a need to sleep. And then they start to have these beliefs that are grandiose, as we call them, which is that somebody just wakes up and says, you know what, I think I have the power to cure any disease on earth. I think I'm a great prophet. I think I have £1 billion in
then
their
they are
account.
saying things.
And they are seeing things and they're hearing voices. So when there's a swing like that, that's bipolar disorder. Then you have schizophrenia, which is the one many people associate with mental illness. And what happens with schizophrenia is that the person's personality is split, and they have what we call delusions and hallucinations. So for instance, we're in Nigeria, we're in Africa. So the African believes that there are witches and wizards all around us. Abi? Good. So when a person has this belief, but when you now ask them, on what basis are you making that assumption? And the evidence is not there, but they hold on to it, that's a delusion. So a delusion can be persecutory, where somebody just feels there are witches and wizards around, they want to kill me, and they're just against me.
The village people.
The village people. Then there can be grandiose delusions where the person just thinks he has supernatural powers. I had a patient of mine that was almost going to break down a GT Bank branch in Ikorodu because he believed Bill Clinton was sending him millions of dollars, and the branch manager was holding on to the money. And they showed him his bank balance, and there was nothing. He did not even have a dumb account. And he said no. So that's a grandiose delusion. Then there are bizarre delusions like people who believe that the sun follows them and that the trees are talking about them and they have discussions and they said. I talk to my patient a lot.
You know, I have a video on my phone here. A guy walked into our studio just recently and he said that he is Mohbad, you know. And I am wondering how come. The video is still here. He said he's very sure that all he needs to see is some set of particular people. He mentioned the names. He said he doesn't want to tell me everything. And he sounded so sure.
Very
sure.
I mean, I've had patients of mine walk into the houses of multi-millionaires in Nigeria because they sounded so so certain and so confident of themselves that even the gate man was like, Oga must know this person. Let him enter. Only for him to enter and start telling Oga, oh yeah, kneel down, I want to pray for you. And why? What's the problem? And then they eventually take them to the police station and they find out, okay, it's a mental illness. So that's schizophrenia, which is the splitting. That is delusions. We've talked about delusions, and they are hallucinations. You hear voices. You see things other people cannot see. You taste things other people cannot taste. And all of this is not in a dream. It's while you're awake. So I have patients of mine that the family just says, this person is having a discussion in his room. And there are like 5 people in the room. But you enter the room, he's the only one there. And you're like, who is he talking to? So those are hallucinations. And that is what signifies, okay, this might be schizophrenia. Then, of course, you have the addiction issues. From alcohol to cigarettes to cannabis to crystal meth, which is ice. Then to other substances that, as I said, I am still doing my research on because I still want to know what is inside that menu. I really want to know what's in it. Then people are breaking fluorescent tubes to get the powder in it and sniff it because people need to get high, but they cannot afford. Because I was talking to a patient of mine and I was saying, how much is loud now? And it says 6,000 naira. And I'm like, and you finish that in, he said, 3 of us will finish it in 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
And I'm like, so that's expensive. That's it. I said, so if you do it for 30 days, that's 180,000 naira. That's somebody's salary. So that's an expensive habit. But people want to get high because life can be hard. Let's not lie. Then you have illnesses like delirium, which is a person who's just confused for some reason. Then you have dementia. That is common in very old people, where the person forgets themselves. So there's this phenomenon that used to occur many years ago, and still occurs in some villages, where an old woman wakes up and starts confessing. I killed this person, I killed that person, I killed this person, I killed that person. And everybody gathers and say, oh, she's a witch, they kill her. And so we found out quite a number of times that most of these women actually have dementia, which is that they forget themselves. They hear voices, they believe the voices, and then they start to repeat things that the voices say. So if a woman was feeling guilty about the death of her son, and maybe not that she was personally responsible for something that happened and she blamed herself, and then she now starts to hear voices telling her, you must have been responsible, and then she repeats it, people now say, oh, she's very definitely a witch, she was the one that killed him. And quite a number of people have lost their lives because of that. And then you have suicide. So there are about maybe like 100 different conditions I cannot even say here. But they're quite a number. And what we tell people is, so when you say, oh, mental illness, what do you mean? It's not just one illness. It's several.
There are several.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You know, let's look at some of the problems of mental illness now, the causes of these things, like we said earlier. Now, I want us to look at one of the major, which is this taking of illicit drugs, abuse of drugs, consumption of all of these ridiculous things and all that. For instance, my reason for saying so is that some will tell you that I am depressed. It is until I take these drugs or I smoke this whatever, that is when I am fine. That is when I feel good. So let's look at the adverse effect of these illicit drugs, these hard drugs, on people's mental health that leads to mental illness. Let's talk about that.
So many people have this belief that the problem we have is this very hard drugs. But I personally believe that the number one drug we have a problem with should be alcohol. It's legal, it's available everywhere, but quite a number of people are addicted to it. I still plan to do a study. I want to go around to all those beer parlors at the roadside and have a small questionnaire for some of the guys that sit there. You'll be shocked at how many of them use alcohol to medicate. So there was one many years ago when I still used to drink. So I was not a doctor then. So one guy was having a discussion with us and we were like, look, okay, it's 10:30. when are you going home? And he's like, I can't go home. I'm like, wow. You don't have a house or what? He said, no. He said, I have this chairman was talking to about his wife in the house, and she nags for a living. So he said, I need to get so drunk that by the time I enter the house, I won't hear anything she says. And I will enter my house, I'll sleep, I'll forget everything, I'll wake up the next morning, take my bath, and run to work. He says, and I do this every day. I am certain that that man was depressed. But if you asked him, are you depressed? They will say, no. There's nothing wrong with me. I just married the wrong woman. So here, that's a problem. So because of COVID and the increase in anxiety that happened as a result, we've seen a large increase in the use of these substances. And the truth is, these substances are dangerous. They are toxic to the brain. Colorado is a synthetic cannabinoid. It's not the same one that they grow in Kwale and Ogbesa. That's not it.
The Colorado is the same as the Colos.
Yes, that's Colos.
Oh, okay.
Now, so Colorado Colos is actually a synthetic form of cannabinoids. And so what we know from what we had done before was the cannabis that people grow on the ground has been associated with anxiety. So that it causes fears, it causes all that kind of undue worry. But Colos itself actually causes frank psychotic symptoms. People actually start to hear voices from just one drug. It's a dangerous, very dangerous drug. It affects every part of your body. It affects your lungs. It affects your brain. It affects your heart. And it's toxic. And here's the lie. They tell you you will feel better because it causes euphoria. So here's the person. The person is sad. Is already under. If he takes Colorado and feels better all of a sudden because he feels, oh, I'm high. Everything is fine.
On top of the world.
On top of the world. The problem is it wears off. And then you come down. But you don't come down to where you started. You go below. So the next time you have to take, you end up taking more than what you took. So that's why it's a vicious cycle, and it's a cycle that will never end until somebody intervenes, or you, as they say, borrow yourself brain. That this is not going to end well, because it leads to people getting out of school, losing jobs, it leads to breakdown of marriages, it leads to people being, of course, admitted in hospital and having to deal with psychotic symptoms. I know someone who said all he took was a drug, and 10, 15 years after, he's still treating the effects of that one drug. Though I didn't believe it when he said it was one drug. I think it was like one wrap. But he's still treating the after effects because he now has panic disorders as a result of just one drug. So when a person tells you, just take it, it's not a big deal, it will make you feel better. Or this lie they tell, oh, if you're a musician, you know, Bob Marley used to smoke cannabis, Fela used to smoke cannabis, all the other musicians do it. Now you see it in their videos. The question is, one, do you have the talent? Because if you are not talented, there is no way Igbo is going to make you a better singer. No freaking way. That is one. Number two is the fact that the musicians you see who smoke and all that, they can afford to treat themselves. They can afford, I mean, I heard just many years ago that they used to fly a particular Nigerian musician to South Africa every 6 months. You can't afford that. So the question is, you don't have talent, you can't even afford the kind of treatment they have, then you decide to follow their example and you end up in a pit and your mother is having to borrow Lapo money to treat you. I mean, it's a crazy situation to be. Unfortunately, the lie has spread around all over that, look, there's no big deal about it. That there are even countries where it's even legal. And then we tell them, pause, do you know that Netherlands, the first country to legalize cannabis, says 15, 16 years later that they made a mistake but that it's impossible to reverse because they found out that their 14-year-olds were developing schizophrenia, which they never did before then. So the question is, what changed? We legalized cannabis and people started smoking at 10. And now they're developing schizophrenia at 14. And so I used to be an advocate for legalizing cannabis many, many years ago before I had a brain touch and said, oh no, this is not going to work. Because honestly, the effects are severe. When one patient comes into the accident and emergency in General Hospital Ikorodu and has an addiction intoxication issue, the whole hospital is on our part because no one can handle them, and they start shouting my name. Where's Dr. I'm not around. I'm not available. I'm unavailable. So, but what we're saying is, it's not a solution. Whoever lies to you that it's a solution, that person is just, the person doesn't like you, obviously. So for me, it does not solve the problem. It makes it worse, 1,000 times worse.
Thank you very much. I would open the phone lines now, 0904081061 or 0904082161, in line with our conversation today. Let's take this first call before we move ahead. Hello to you.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Sian.
Your name and where you're calling from?
The name is Mr. Larry from Ikorodu.
Thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
You are part of us.
Yeah.
But sir, I was thinking you will come down to some of us, some of our levels. This is your phone, this is your English. It is humor. I was thinking maybe you just put in a bit of pidgin English or what we call broken. I know. I'm just lying it. When you mention emotional stuff, I was hoping that you mentioned when somebody is going to have breakfast. I was saying breakfast cannot lead to being depressed or to affect our mental state.
That is relationship issues.
Yes, I know. Yes, heartbreaks.
Okay, heartbreaks.
So call and breakfast. So apart from that, Turkey has said like 99% of what is happening now. He has actually nailed on the edge. But sir, I have a question.
Okay.
There was a time one of our brothers, maybe in the Senate or in the House, said they should give license to marijuana, that they want to use it for medical advancement. I want to ask, as a medical practitioner, I'm not a medical practitioner, at least I'm a lawyer by profession. So I don't know anything about science and medical. So can actually this thing be used for medical treatment? Because I don't know. I wonder how somebody will just come up and say, Nigeria, license this thing. Let's be using it for medical treatment. Despite the fact that we know the cost, the damage that this thing has been doing to our youth. I will drop it so that the doctor can address this issue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Larry. Yes, so that means definitely that will lead us to one of my questions, where we have even heard of cases where they would say that doctors are the ones that even prescribe some sort of particular drugs. And these drugs, when you look at them, they are hard drugs. What do you have to say to this? In line with the question our caller asked.
So, as the caller said, I go to talk preaching for that. That's nobody could say now, only for that. No. Last, everybody will chop breakfast. That's the truth. But the thing is, like grief. So, for instance, somebody loses a job. Somebody loses a spouse. It's grief. So, you lose a relationship. It's emotional. It's going to cause a lot of emotional trauma. But it does not mean you will become depressed. Like I said, if your sadness from breakfast is getting too long, so I'm not saying that you won't hear the person's name or see the person's number and not feel somehow. No, that's allowed. But if each time somebody mentions the name and you're crying, and this is 2 months, 3 months after, because normal grief reaction is actually for 6 months. If somebody loses a spouse, the person is allowed to weep and cry about the situation for 6 months.
6 months.
But that is for loss of a spouse. But if you've been served breakfast and it's been over a month and 2 after, and you're still finding yourself crying, and you're still traumatized when somebody mentions the person's name, bros, you need to see somebody.
Maybe the love was so deep.
Even if the love is deep, even if it's agape, the truth is that in your being your wa, as they will say. Because sometimes what I find with the pain of that issue is that the person had put so much of their love, of their feelings of identity into that relationship. So much so that when the person now says, I no do again, you now suddenly feel less than, you feel worthless, you feel, after all I did for this person. So for me, that is an unhealthy relationship. Because what I tell my wife is, it is not your duty to make me happy. If I cannot make myself happy, nobody can. So your duty is to come together, that we form a relationship, this marriage, raise our children, do things for each other. But my happiness, I get it by myself. If I cannot get happiness by myself, and I can only get it in the context of a relationship, I need to work on myself. You need to go and treat yourself and get it's self-esteem that is the problem, because when a person's self-esteem is tied to an external thing, like a relationship or your money or your job, you know, like they say, do you know who I am? The minute you hear a person say, do you know
who
the
I
person
am?
does not know who he is. Because what it means is you need people to know, to feel validated. There's something wrong with that. The most powerful people on earth don't go about telling people, do you know who I am? People just know. Right? Now, on the issue of, I think he was mentioning about legalizing cannabis. Yes. So many years ago, I used to think. So here's my argument. The economic argument was that the hard drug business industry in Nigeria right now is worth over 100 billion naira. Wow. It is not taxed. It does not bring any revenue. But whether you like it or not, people will spend money. So for me, it was an economic argument. Let's make money from it. However, the issue is, the after effect of that is that you are going to have people become even more dependent on this substance. So on one hand, you're collecting taxes, but on the other hand, you're going to spend more in healthcare. Will it work? You know, that kind of thing. Change my mind and say, you know what, we can't legalize this. But yes, in developed countries, let me not use the word developed, other countries, medical cannabis has been prescribed by doctors, but it is only for 3 or 4 categories of illnesses. Okay. One is cancer patients where morphine does not work anymore.
Okay.
People with multiple sclerosis where they are always in pain and other things they've used other medications and it does not work. So it's usually for pain. Then there's an extract of cannabinoids that has been used for glaucoma, which is an eye condition. But the results have been iffy, and it is an extra, not that you smoke it. They extract it. So that's why. So that's why I would say right now I can't legalize it, because the effects are going to be more severe. That's the truth. Yeah.
0904-081-1061 or 0904-082-1061. The next 15 minutes, Doctor, you would help us understand how important it is for us to stay healthy mentally. But before then, let's take another call. Hello to you.
Good morning, presenter.
Good morning to you, sir. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Mr. Ayeni calling from Lagos.
Thank you, Mr. Ayeni, for calling. Talk to us.
I welcome the doctor. Due to what you said, well understood. Actually, due to what you said, depression attached to mental. So I want to ask a question. What is the characteristics of seesaw?
The characteristics of what?
Seizure.
Seizures, yes.
Seizures.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what can lead to it?
Okay.
For a guy that just came up without having a mental foundation or a victory, and just come up one day, started seeing a lot of things that look meaningful. You understand? That a parent cannot even understand what he's seeing. Tell someone that you are going to have money. Daddy, you get money. You are going to rich. No? From there, we took him to the hospital. But at the end of the day, doctor cannot fish in exactly what is going on. We took him back. A lot of research, traditional, medical, but at the end of the day, I thank God. But it's medical that we landed. And when I got to go there, it's a sister that is affecting him. What can lead to sister? Because in 15 years, 16 years old boy, that have that effect. Please try to explain in detail.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Doctor. I think that is one important question to attend to.
Okay, so seizures or convulsions or epilepsy, as different names that people use, is one of the few conditions that connects neurology and psychiatry, which is that neurologists can treat it and psychiatrists can. And it's also one of those conditions that is actually not hereditary. It's not passed down most times. So what can cause seizures? Number one is it can be as a result of an accident where people have injuries and then they have damage or some part of the skull touches the brain and that leads to it. It can come from infections like meningitis and encephalitis. And then there's something that Yorubas called ile tutu, which is that a child has fever and then suddenly starts to develop convulsions as a result of a high temperature. So that usually occurs between 6 months and 6 years of life, but usually those kind of children outgrow it and they stop having seizures. So, but seizures can come from, like I said, it can even come from substance use. Alcohol has been so for instance, if a person is an alcoholic and they suddenly stop drinking completely once, it can lead to seizures as a result of that. And there are medications also that can also cause seizures. So the scenario he painted is of a young person that suddenly started talking irrelevantly first, making different claims, and then now started to have seizures. So those kind of seizures are called complex partial, and usually they are treated by psychiatrists. So what I would have said is, which comes to the issue of access. So for instance, in the whole of Lagos, there are only 5 general hospitals that have mental health units. Ikorodu, Alimosho, Ekpe, Bagada, and Lagos Island, Odon. So but now we also have trained personnel in 57 flagship primary health centers in Lagos to manage this kind of issue. So you can get in one of the PHCs and get treated for anxiety, for depression, for even seizures, simple seizures. It's when it's complex partial that we're like, okay, send to the general hospital. So what I would tell them to do if the person is not getting better is look for any of these general hospitals that is closest to them and go and see the consultant psychiatrist. They would actually treat the seizures, and in less than a month, the person should be back to normal. But of course, the other thing about seizures is that you have to manage them for a while. It's not something that, okay, the seizures have stopped, let's stop the drug, which happens a lot. And so that's all I would say.
Thank you so very much. And of course, to those of you that are listening, not all mental illnesses are spiritual. You know, a lot of us believe that it's Ishaye, my village people, and all of that. Sometimes we need to see our doctors and be sure of this thing. 09040811061. Let's take a message here from WhatsApp. This person is from Igbelara, Alebioshu. Alebioshu is saying that taking red wine all the time, is that also a problem? Because I think this person is addicted to red wine, but he's seen red wine as something that is okay. So what do you have to say to
So what I would say is that red wine has alcohol. The percentage may not be very high, but there are 4 questions I asked the person. 1, do you agree yourself that you need to reduce the amount of alcohol you're taking? If you agree, that's a pointer to the fact that you're becoming dependent. Second is that if anybody talks to you about your drinking, do you get angry?
Okay.
Third is, do you feel guilty when people talk to you about drinking? And then 4, which is the most important one, is, do you have to drink first thing in the morning to clear your eye? So you know those boys, men, let me not say boys, men, old men, that you see beside bus stops at 5, 6 a.m. waiting for the Paraga woman, that is eye-opener. They cannot start the day until they have drank alcohol. And quite a number of our National Progress people also do that early in the morning. Because for 4 years, I used to travel between Lagos and Akure when I was working in Akure. And I noticed the pattern because I would get to the park at 5:30 to get to Akure. And I noticed the pattern that every driver, every conductor would take at least 3 to 4 kwelebes or 3 to 4 bitters before they start working in the morning. That's an eye-opener. That's proof that you may be becoming dependent on alcohol.
Let's talk about age factor now on mental illness briefly, because of our time. Now, some people also believe that the age could be another factor for some mental illness, that when a man or a woman is aging, then definitely something might be wrong. What do you have to say to this?
So like I said before, dementia is an illness of old age, and usually what happens is from 50, your brain cells start to decline. So your ability to remember, your ability to concentrate starts to decline. But it usually goes gradually. But with dementia, the person just suddenly forgets. They can't go back home. They can't remember the names of their family members. And some of them actually get lost. So remember that I also cover Majidu Rehabilitation Center, where they pick people from the streets. And we have maybe like 5, 6 old men or women who can't remember the names of their children, can't remember their addresses, so we don't know where to take them. And some of them have been there for 10 years, 15 years, and they still haven't remembered. So that's dementia. And so some illnesses are common with certain ages, like we've said. So dementia is one, and delirium.
Let's take another call from here. Hello to you. Good morning. Hello, good morning. You're connected. Okay, you will need to call us back when you are ready. Thank you very much. So, you said the age has something to do with it. Is this to say that it is normal or it is okay that when you're getting to your 50s, 60s, you should be expecting these health illnesses?
No.
Okay.
So we're saying that you should notice a slight decline in your ability to remember things. But when you suddenly can't remember your own birthday, that's a pointer to the fact that there's something wrong. And the earlier things are done, the better. That's what I'll say.
So, doctor, now let's talk about how we can stay healthy, how we can have a proper mental health. That is the essence for this conversation. So, please go ahead, tell us how we can stay healthy as persons out there.
I will mention 4 things that are very important. Then I'll mention 4 things not to do. 4 things to do and 4 things not to do. The first thing to do is sleep. Sleep effectively for 8 hours every day. Yes, you've heard this story. If you sleep for 8 hours out of 24 hours, you've slept for 1/3 of your life. Story. The question is, what do you do with the 16 hours that you are awake? I think that is what is most important.
Okay, sorry, before we take the second one, let's see if this call will go through. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Mr. Oladipo Sapa.
Your reception over there is not very clear. Please, can you...
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
What I'm trying to ask, if somebody is hardworking somebody, can I contribute to what you are telling us?
If someone is hardworking...
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. The doctor would answer that. So I think this person is asking, your manual labor, your hard labor, does it also affect the mental health?
So if you work hard and do not rest, yes, it would affect, because stress is also a major factor for mental illnesses. So for instance, we were describing the person who wakes up at 4 a.m., leaves the house by 5, comes back at 11. That person is affected and comes back at 11, eats and tries to get rest by 12. So the person effectively sleeps for 4 hours. That person is going to be at risk of developing a stress-related disorder. From hypertension is stress-related, diabetes is stress-related, cardiac problems are stress-related. The mental health issues that are stress-related, virtually all of them are, but the most common ones is anxiety, depression, and also that people who were predisposed before can just suddenly develop a psychotic illness. So what I say is work smart, but please pay attention to your rest. It is the most important thing. The minute you're not sleeping well, there's a problem.
Let's go back to our to-do list, because
Yes.
I'm also taking notes.
Yeah.
Now, we've heard a lot of motivational speakers say that sleeping 8 hours, you are wasting the time of your life. But you are saying otherwise. Please tell us.
Because one, sleep is actually the body's natural antidepressant, and it's actually the natural anti-stress drug. Because you would remember, if you're a Christian, that when God was going to make Eve out of Adam, he first put Adam to sleep. There's a reason why. And so for the things that happen to you throughout the day, what sleep does is that it helps to arrange all your memories properly. So that's the reason why you hear students go, oh, I did not sleep, I did till daybreak, then I got to the exam. One day, then they say, yeah, it was a spiritual arrow. My village people have caught up with me. No, sir, what you had is called a brain fog syndrome, and it's a product of anxiety. What we're saying is, you must sleep effectively for 8 hours. If you do not sleep effectively for 8 hours, you need to fix it. So if it means that you get a meditation app, get it. If it means you change your mattress, get it. If you sleep with a pillow and the pillow makes your neck hurt, go and get a better pillow. The most effective pillows are the pillows that you put your hand in and your hand sinks in. If your hand does not sink into your pillow, throw your pillow away. I am recommending that. That is a fact of life.
Okay.
So the second to do
yes.
is exercise. And exercise is, you must do at least 30 minutes of something that makes your heart rate go by above 10 beats per minute and makes you sweat. If you are not sweating, you are not exercising. So I used to run, but I have had to change it to walking because it was hurting my knees. So what I do is I do at least between 45 minutes to 1 hour every other day, and then I swim on Saturdays. So if you can and you get a place where you can swim, best exercise ever. The third to-do list is please eat
Please,
well.
let's take this call. Perhaps this will be the last one. Hello to you.
All right.
Sorry, my name is Victor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Victor. Please go ahead.
What is the cause of brain tumor?
Brain tumor.
Yeah.
Okay, just stay tuned. The doctor will do justice to that. Thank you very much. So he's talking about brain tumor.
Well, brain tumors are not in my jurisdiction.
Okay.
But brain tumors basically are a kind of cancer. And basically you can have benign or malignant tumors, and there are different things that cause them, from the way you eat, from the kind of strong metals that you may have in your water and stuff like that. But all I know is that brain tumors are a form of cancer, and when a person has tumors, the person has to see an oncologist if they are malignant. So that's what.
So before we continue with the to-do list, we stopped at eating well. We've talked about sleeping well.
Yeah.
We've talked about exercises. But I want us to take this one from Facebook. This person is Temi Lade Aload. Said, good morning, doctor and Mr. Adebambo. Good morning to you too. To me, depression is not about taking hard drug, but meeting people and going out of your immediate environment through this depends on oneself. Okay, I think this person, if I'm going to rephrase this, is saying that she doesn't believe that depression has to do with hard drugs.
Yeah.
But then she believes that the people you meet, the environment, and all of that. I think that's what she's saying.
Yeah.
And on Facebook, I think that's on Facebook. On WhatsApp now, I have this one saying, Adebambo, well done. All this codeine and the one Larondo mentioned, why are they producing these things? This person is asking, why are we producing them? And this doctor is a street orientation person. Igboroni. Okay, this person is saying Igboroni doctor. He said, Femi Farms, he said, you make him remember when he was in the university. Okay, so maybe we should meet up with the to-do list now, talking about eating well.
Yeah, so eating well. So when I was in nursery and primary school, we were taught that you eat breakfast like a king, you eat lunch like a prince, you eat dinner like a pauper. The Nigeria said, no, they don't know what they are talking. Me, I will eat breakfast. In fact, I won't even eat breakfast. I will eat lunch like a pauper, and I will eat dinner like a bus conductor and a NURTW chairman. So what that does for you is breakfast is the most important meal because that is when you work the most and that's when you burn the most calories. So if you do not eat well in the morning, you're going to be burning what is already stored up, and that's why you're going to be feeling very hungry by the time it's dinner. Now whatever you eat at dinner, most likely you're not going to burn, and that means your stomach is going to be working overnight. And that's the reason why if you'll notice that if you eat a very heavy meal at night, you wake up in the morning feeling very hungry. That's because your stomach has been working overnight. And then that's when you also have the dreams of people feeding you at night. So that one is because you are eating. So that's what we're saying. And then of course in the eating, please eat fresh. I must eat Chicken Republic, I must eat this. I'm not calling anybody's name, but those kind of meals are not the best. Eat vegetables, eat fruits. And then finally, one food I would definitely recommend is unsweetened yogurt for everybody, because there's a relationship between the gut, they call them bacteria in your gut, and your brain. They produce certain neurotransmitters, and when you take unsweetened yogurt, especially last thing at night, it helps promote the growth of that bacteria, gut bacteria, and that helps boost your mood and your energy levels the next day. And then the fourth thing we've talked about, eat well, we've talked about exercise well, we've talked about sleep well,
yes.
And then I would say that stay close to people who love you. Hug people every day, at least once a day. It's very important. And just ensure that there are people that make you laugh. Whatever you do, ensure that people that love you around you, and there are people that make you laugh every day. It's very, very important. Now, to don't list, the things to stop. Please do not take hard drugs. Do not take alcohol, whatever you do. Number 2, as much as possible, do not stay around toxic people. And the definition of a toxic person is, I hang around you, and when I leave, I feel drained. That's a toxic person. That's not a friend. Okay. Number 3 is at least stop staying indoors. If you're the kind of person that I like to just be my TV, Netflix, and chill, it's not healthy. You must touch the sun. The sun must touch your skin every day. It's very, very important. And then the fourth to don't, I would say, is stop eating junk. Stop eating unhealthy food. Stop, if it is possible, stop taking sugar. If it is possible, I would recommend to stop eating sugar.
Thank you so very much, Doctor. This is how far we can have it. Some other messages are coming up here on WhatsApp, but unfortunately, we have just 2 more minutes to sign out. This person is saying, good morning, sir. How can we take care of our brain because of old age to avoid being called witch? Please mention the name of that illness again. Mrs. Shonaya from Solomade. I don't know which.
So it's called dementia, and
Okay.
it's one of the things that you can do, of course, is to eat well. Like it helps. Sleeping well helps. If you have hypertension and diabetes, please manage them because they've been implicated in causing dementia later on. And then, as much as possible, there are brain exercises. Anything that helps you calculate figures in your head. It has been shown to reduce the rate of dementia happening later on in life.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Banji Adesoji, all the way from General Hospital Ikorodu, the mental health practitioner. I can tell that you're doing a lot. I'm trying to imagine when you were talking the other time how you deal with some of your patients and all that. I'm sure you have to always look fit when you're going to work, maybe with your canvas and all of that, because you're doing so much. Thank you so very much for your time. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
This is how far we can have it today on The Issues. My name is Okpayami Adebambo. The Issues continues tomorrow, same time, same station. Please stay healthy. It's important. This is in line with the World Health Mental Day, every 10th of October. And of course, we have been a part of this one. God bless Nigeria. God bless Lagos. God bless you. It's a bye for now.